Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we've pulled a stack of sources that, well, on the surface, they just look like a simple travel checklist.
Right. Very straightforward.
But when you actually get into them, they unlock this brilliant framework for gaining truly deep, actionable knowledge on pretty much any subject.
Mm.
We're deep diving into excerpts from a text called Architectural Aspirations and Historical Landmarks.
Mhm.
So you might be planning a trip, or maybe you're just, intensely curious about a specific historical site. This source material lays out 4 required components you have to address.
And this is for what it calls an informed appreciation of a landmark.
Exactly. We're not just talking about taking a selfie here. We are talking about mastering the knowledge you need to understand why that landmark matters, both to you and, to the world.
It's almost like a shortcut, a way to get well-informed without getting totally overwhelmed by data.
That's a great way to put it.
Right.
Okay, let's unpack this unusual, but I think very effective structure.
I'd say it's more than just a checklist. It's really a methodology. This format forces you, the learner, to execute a perfect balance.
A balance between what?
It creates this powerful cognitive link
Hmm.
between the historical context, your own deeply personal motivation, and then the practical, real-world execution.
Ah, I see.
And if you can manage to align those 3 areas, what we could call the trifecta of deep knowledge,
Yeah.
you stop being a casual visitor. You become an informed historian, traveler, and planner all at once.
Absolutely. So the source lays out these 4 requirements for what it calls the fully informed aspiration. You have to provide the historical importance.
Okay.
Explain your personal connection, detail your aspiration, and then finally assess the cold, hard cost of travel.
Those 4 pillars.
Those are the 4 pillars. And that's our mission today, figuring out why this unique combination is so powerful.
And we have to start where the source starts, right? With the essential core.
Right. So the first mandated element is to provide the name and historical importance of the building.
Seems simple enough.
Well, knowing the name is like the price of entry, but defining its historical importance, that's the crucial filter.
Yeah, that's what turns a beautiful photo op into a profound cultural artifact.
It is.
It's the foundational so what. We see a lot of people research historical facts in a vacuum. But the source material, it correctly places this first.
Why first?
Because historical context is the bedrock. It's the foundation that all other understanding is built on. Without it, a building is just impressive stone and geometry.
Right.
But with it, the building becomes this tangible vessel of cultural, political, or, social memory.
I think we should get specific here because historical importance can feel a little vague. What does someone need to zero in on to really nail this requirement?
That's a great question. You have to look beyond just the date it was built. You need to identify its impact vectors.
Impact vectors, what do you mean?
Was it politically significant?
Right.
Since the Colosseum,
Mhm.
it isn't just important because it's an old ruin.
Of course.
It's important because it was a tool of political spectacle, a form of social control that reflected the priorities and the cruelty of the Roman Empire.
So understanding that political theater.
That is the true historical importance. It's not just about counting the arches.
And what about something like architectural innovation? That seems to be where the technical side of a deep dive really comes in.
Exactly. Think about the Pantheon in Rome. Its historical importance isn't just its age. It's the fact that its dome, which is made of unreinforced concrete,
Incredible.
was the largest in the world for over 1,000 years.
Mm.
So researching its importance means understanding the recipe for that Roman concrete, the revolutionary engineering that allowed that oculus to exist.
And how it influenced everything that came after.
Yes, how subsequent architects were utterly changed by that innovation. If you don't research that, you're just looking up at a hole in the ceiling.
Mm.
But if you do, you're appreciating a technical miracle.
That is the difference right there between a superficial summary and true deep knowledge. And when you understand the engineering and the political context, you're anchored.
You're anchored in fact.
But it seems like this framework recognizes that pure academic facts aren't enough to drive a person to action, which is why it pivots so quickly.
It anchors the aspiration, in fact. Yeah, but facts alone often lead to, intellectual fatigue. You need propellant.
And this is where the source material gets genuinely intriguing and frankly a little redundant on purpose, I think.
Oh, this part, yes.
It asks, why do you love to visit? And then right after, it instructs you to explain why do you love it? Why is the text so insistent on defining love twice? Why isn't just, liking it enough? Here's where it gets really interesting.
Well, the repetition is the insight. It's confirming the required intensity of the motivation.
The intensity.
Yeah. If the source only asked for a reason to visit, you could give a really shallow answer, like,
It's famous.
it's famous. Exactly. But by demanding you define love and then asking you to explain it again, it elevates the aspiration from just a passive wish to a really active, motivated goal.
Okay, but I wonder if that repetition is designed to weed out the casual observer. If I challenge the text and say, hold on, isn't that just bad editing? Why repeat the word love if aspiration covers it? What's the defense for that?
I think the defense is simple. It's about knowledge retention. For you, the learner, especially when you're facing information overload, knowledge becomes sticky when it's coupled with a strong, personal, positive emotion.
I see.
So this section isn't actually about the building itself. It's about your relationship with your own goal.
Okay, give me an example.
You might like the aesthetics of the Colosseum, but you might love the intellectual challenge of trying to comprehend the sheer scale of the Roman Empire.
Ah,
That intense personal affection, that's the propellant we were talking about. It ensures that when you hit a difficult piece of research, say, trying to trace the patronage history of the building, you don't give up.
because you're invested.
You're emotionally invested. The deeper the commitment, the more motivated you are to retain those complex historical facts and the architectural nuances we talked about earlier. It validates the emotional driver behind the whole intellectual pursuit.
So if my motivation is just, I want a great picture for social media, my commitment to reading about the political significance of the building is probably going to be pretty minimal.
It's going to be very low, yeah.
But if I truly love the aesthetic, or I love the concept of the civilization that built it, that affection makes the technical details feel necessary, not optional.
Precisely. It acknowledges that deep, structured learning is driven by passion, not just by, adherence to a curriculum. It's the engine that links the historical facts you just acquired to the future action you plan to take.
Okay, so we've established the what, which is the history, and the why, which is this love and aspiration. But a true deep diver understands that pure idealism often collapses under the gravity of reality.
It needs a tether.
It needs that tether of practicality, and that's why the text pivots so sharply, moving immediately from this profound emotion to the hard facts. What is its cost of travel?
This abrupt transition is actually one of the most brilliant parts of the whole framework. It mandates completeness.
How so?
Knowledge isn't truly complete until it's actionable, and action requires logistics. You can have all the historical depth, feel the deepest passion, but if you haven't confronted the reality of execution, the aspiration just remains a purely theoretical appreciation.
It's so easy to romanticize a goal until you have to actually look at your bank account or the calendar.
That's it.
So let's go beyond the obvious. Understanding the cost is clearly more than just the dollar figure on a plane ticket.
Oh, absolutely. What's fascinating here is that cost of travel implies so much more. It implies time, logistics, planning constraints. It forces the learner to move the goal from a wouldn't that be nice fantasy,
To a concrete, feasible objective.
a concrete objective that requires structured planning.
Do you
Yes.
have an example of that?
Sure. Consider the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. If you aspire to see it and you start researching the cost, you discover two things almost immediately. One, the financial cost of a high-season ticket,
Okay.
and two, the time cost. You have to book months in advance, and you have to dedicate several hours to the internal tour, waiting in lines, things like that.
And that practical reality, it immediately changes the nature of the whole aspiration.
It does. If you realize you have to wait 6 months just to enter, that logistical constraint, that cost of time, it forces you to appreciate the generational, decades-long vision of Gaudí even more.
Oh, that's interesting.
The political and historical context of that long construction becomes immediately more relevant because you are now, in a small way, participating in those planning delays yourself.
Wow. So the practical constraint feeds directly back into your intellectual understanding of the landmark's history.
It's a feedback loop.
So confronting the cost, the time, maybe the complexity of visas, security clearances for some sites, that's what ensures the knowledge acquisition is rigorous. You can't afford to spend months researching something if you realize the destination is logistically impossible for you right now.
Exactly. It prioritizes your intellectual effort. It's the ultimate reality check. It integrates the logistical constraints right alongside the intellectual and emotional drivers, ensuring your passion is grounded in possibility. It is the final element that converts raw knowledge into a fully informed goal.
This structure is really fantastic when you lay it all out. Let's just recap the four elements from the source material. We have historical importance, which provides that critical context.
The what?
Then aspiration and affection, which provides the emotional motivation and that deep personal connection.
The why.
And finally, the cost of travel, which addresses feasibility and practicality.
The how. It outlines a focused, perfect formula. You, the learner, are mandated to balance deep academic facts, the history, with intense personal relevance, the affection, and then that inescapable logistical reality, the cost.
And that structure is designed to overcome the classic learner's problem, which is just information overload.
It absolutely is. Instead of trying to research everything about a building, you only focus your efforts on these four critical pillars.
You know exactly what you need to know. What is it? Why do I want it? How do I deeply connect with it? And how do I actually get there?
It gives you a manageable, focused intellectual mission. You gain knowledge quickly, but thoroughly.
It's the difference between wading through a sea of information and using, I don't know, a finely tuned compass.
A compass is the perfect metaphor.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? The final thought we want to leave you with is this. Take this four-point framework, history, aspiration, affection, and cost, and try applying it to an entirely different domain, something non-architectural. For instance, a complex historical figure, maybe like Marie Curie, or a difficult field of study like quantum physics.
Ooh, that's a good one.
You just ask the same questions. What is the historical importance of the field? What is your intense aspiration toward fully mastering it? What's the personal affection you feel for its philosophy or its output? And then, what is the cost?
And that cost isn't just financial.
No. It's the intellectual effort, the time commitment, the prerequisite knowledge you have to have. All of that must be paid to fully master it. This framework for visiting a building is actually a template for achieving any fully informed goal.
And that structure provides clarity. And clarity always makes intellectual exploration more effective and, I think, infinitely more satisfying.
That's it for this deep dive. We hope this framework helps you balance context, passion, and practicality in your next big aspiration.
Keep digging for those nuggets of deep knowledge.
We'll catch you next time.